Hello, friends, and welcome to Rabbitwood, formerly known as the Profoundish podcast, hosted by me, Weston, and my very outdoorsy, manly co-host, Alex, where we talk about chopping wood. Welcome to Rabbitwood.
I can get you any brand of fart noise you need. You know I got you covered. You need the air, you want the water, you want the wet. Tell me what you want, I'll give it to you.
Any brand? How about that champion fart?
Champion fart? Oh,
Yeah,
like brand?
Champion brand.
I think if I base it off of who wears champion and they're farting, I'm going to say it probably sounds, I'm not going to give the example, but it's probably short, but effective. Like, it's not airy. It's short but hard. Like a, that's a champion fart. Any other brand you want to throw my way?
No, that's the one. That's the only one.
I remember the funniest part about that is my friend Keelan. Shout out to Keelan. No social media for you to follow, but shout out to him. You met him briefly when you came down here. He was like telling me the story one time about like this really just embarrassing time when he let one rip and it was way louder than anticipated and it was embarrassing. And, when you tell a story like that, a lot of the time someone's going to try and like mimic the noise when they tell the story. Well, he just did it with his mouth. So he was like, man, it was like you were sitting on a quiet church pew and it was just, ah! And he like did this weird growl to mimic the sound. And it's like, did you fart or was there a lion? Like, what happened? So now I always give him crap for that because that sounded nothing like a fart. I guess it explained the intensity, but that's about it. It's just so stupid.
It's like when you're sitting at the dinner table and you're trying to squeeze one out and you don't want anyone to hear it, but it comes out anyway and you get,
Yeah. That's what it sounded like.
That kind of sounded like it was building an intensity. It's like it starts quiet and then it gets louder.
I do like that. It never comes out. Is this the fart episode, Weston?
This is the manliest episode we will ever do because come on down and welcome to Rabbitwood.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
Rabbitwood National Park, where just a couple of dudes talk about dude things in the woods and the outdoors and the such. Rabbitwood. Rabbitwood podcast, everybody. This isn't Profoundish. This is Rabbitwood.
Yes, everybody. If you're unfamiliar with this, Weston and I have done a series of videos where we improv, basically, and pitch ideas to each other and use our improv skills. In one of the episodes, we did it with podcasts. So we had like a couple words we'd compile together, and then we'd have to pitch a podcast idea. And Rabbitwood is one of them. Who came up with this one? Like, was it me or you?
This one was, this one was me, I think.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
This one was me.
So Weston,
yeah,
grabbed the words wood and rabbit, or rabbit and wood rather, and then pitched a podcast idea. So what's Rabbitwood about? We're talking Rabbitwood.
It's about the Rabbitwood. We decided that Rabbitwood made the perfect name for like a place, like a park, right?
Oh yeah,
so
that's
like,
right. Yeah.
That's why it's like Rabbitwood National Park. It's like
that's
literally
right,
a park where we talk about outdoorsy stuff and manly stuff or whatever. Yeah, and we're like two outwoodsy experts or so. It's Rabbitwood, which totally fits our personalities perfectly, if you ask me.
Oh, we're both grizzly, manly men. Chop wood in our spare time.
We both grow grizzly, manly beards. We can do that.
We do have the beards. I will give you that. Have you ever actually chopped wood before, though? Real question.
You know what? I've had firewood. I've burned firewood. I've started my own fire. I don't think I've ever taken like a hatchet or an axe to like a plank of wood and split it. I don't know if I've ever done that. Weirdly,
I think that's probably a better answer than what I'm about to tell you, which is I tried it literally once. And like not like a session. I just took I just did it, the action once, and I didn't do a good job. And then somebody took over who did better. So,
like I've seen videos. It'll pop up. I don't know. This is like such a niche part of like TikTok. I've seen videos of like dudes splitting like logs of wood with an axe.
And they're always hot. They're always hot.
And if they're not, they're about to be because with all that manual labor. But
look at those comment sections. Look at those comment sections in those videos, dude. If it's like a remotely decently good-looking guy, because when I use TikTok, that would pop up on mine too. And it was usually this one guy in particular, and he was a good-looking guy. And you go to those comment sections, I've never seen so many thirsty women on the internet in one place before.
I think I know my calling now. I must become the axe man. I have to chop wood on TikTok.
He's the axe man. You do have like that grizzly beard, so you could do it.
I grow out the beard. We missed it for No Shave November. I didn't do No Shave November. Yeah. I shaved in November. Not everything, obviously. I just, I trimmed like I normally would. I needed to do No Shave November and just get the biggest, grisliest beard, and I could have been the axe man.
You can still do it. You're out of No Shave November, but you can still grow it out. You can have it nice and long by the hot summer day, and by the time it's like summertime, you're out there like you're glistening in the sun, chopping wood. You can still do it, dude.
I think I will. I'll shave my head, wear a beanie, and flannel. No shirt under the flannel. It's just like a flannel jacket.
Get ready for the flood of women then. Just get ready. They will all be there waiting.
I can see it now.
I encourage this. Yeah, but yeah, in terms of actual just like wood and fires, I mean, heck yeah. We both done plenty of those together and separate. I love bonfires and starting fires. Have you ever started a fire just with wood?
See, that's what I was about to ask you, because we were talking about fires, right? Because it was common amongst my friends where when people wanted to start fire, they'd get like some what's the fire oil or what fire gas or what people would pour some kind of liquid onto like lumber and then like almost explode when they try to set it on fire. I've never done that. If I'm starting the fire, I get like some kindling together, you get some wood shavings or some paper or some leaves, whatever. And you set up like a teepee of that in smaller sticks and then logs or whatever. I set up a whole thing and I use a lighter or a match or something to set the kindling on fire, not like oils and stuff. I've never done...
That's exactly how you should do it.
It's exactly how you should do it. I've never done like the rubbing sticks together thing or like with the string in the stick. I've never tried to put together like a contraption like that. I just, use a lighter or whatever or a match and just done it that way.
That is the proper way to do it if you're not going to do it just completely just with wood. I attempted that once a long time ago, but I just didn't know how to properly position things to get it to really take off, so I never got anywhere with that. But yeah, similar thing. In fact, I don't know how much merit this holds, but in 8th grade, our mutual friend Justin, him and I did, this might have been in high school, but I think no, it wasn't high school. I think it was freshman year because you were actually involved in this, now that I remember.
Ooh.
So let's see if we can jog your memory here. So we did a video for whatever our science class was that year, and you had to do. You could pretty much cover whatever you want, but you had to do some sort of experiment, right, with testing and all that. And I don't know if this had to do just in general with like the scientific method. Like I don't know what the backstory was, but point is, we ended up doing something on like what is the most efficient way to start a fire based on how the wood is positioned.
Okay.
So we had we had different ways of setting it up, and then we needed somebody, and I can't remember which way was the best, but like one of them we had them like in like teepee form. Obviously, a lot of the controllables were the same. So like we had we used like paper each time to you know what I mean? Like instead of wood shavings, we used paper. We always had the same wood. One of them was like in a teepee form. One of them was just like more like in like box form, not box, but like stacked, like Lincoln log style. So we had different ones, and I can't remember. So, and then we had another version, I think, just like piled together. I don't know. But anyway, we made this video, and we counted it and figured out which one was the most efficient way and why. But then we had Dr. Wes Cloud come in, and this is where you come in, obviously.
Oh, I do remember this, actually.
And we're like, now let's ask Mr. Wes Cloud. And he put you in front of my mom's like little mini library. And like, yes, Justin, you were like the old wise man who like explained how something worked.
You set up this video like it was like black and white with a narrator where like you're talking to Justin and you're like, okay, little Billy, now we're going to make a fire or whatever. But like I was the professor expert on fire.
I think, you might have been like Dr. Wes Cloud. Because what it was basically was I set it up basically like it was like a 1950s Andy Griffith style. And he's like, gee willikers, mister. And he kind of talked like that. And they were there. I loved that idea because obviously I wanted to, you can ask Weston, any chance I could make a video in any class, I would do it. And that was true. That was one of them. And yeah, you were the guy who kind of brought the actual sanity to the rest of the insanity. There was a theme of you doing that, which was needed. We needed to be grounded, and you were able to ground us a lot. Same with Caesar, same kind of stuff. And you were like, we had a perfect team going on with all that stuff, but that was really funny. That's all I remember. So yeah, we learned at that time the most efficient way for an 8th grader or a freshman to get a fire started. That
was actually for a class. I wasn't in your class. I don't remember. I don't know what class that was for. I wasn't actually in your class. I was just tagging along and helping. I remember being unclear about what it was you were supposed to be doing for this video. Just that I was given direction, like, we're going to have you play this part. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. But I was unclear about what the assignment was.
That is typical 14-year-old Alex directing right there. It's like, here's what you're going to do. You're not going to know everything else about it, but just here's what I want you to do, and now do it. Like, wow. Well, you did a great job. I remember thinking it was great. And I remember, I have a regret. This is totally random, but we have to talk about it because it is Rabbitwood, and this is kind of about something like that. No, I had a joke in there, and it was, you're going to be, I basically said, so what are we going to be using to set this up, mister? Then the all-knowing narrator voice was like, you're going to be using newspaper, and he's to help, get the fires lit or whatever, I said. And he said, oh, that's not what I've seen my dad use his newspapers for. And I didn't get the joke across right, because I was trying to reference my dad. I only see my dad on the toilet sitting with the newspaper. And I didn't realize, no, granted, remember, I was a kid, literally a child when I made this. But in hindsight, I wish it would have changed how that line was said because it could have landed well. But at the time, in my head, because I knew what I was trying to say, it was hilarious. Right. And I've made people laugh in other parts of my videos in other videos, but like this one didn't stick. I'm thinking, did I just not have a funny joke here? And it turns out I just completely didn't get it across. Even now, you're like, oh, that's what you meant. Because like, what's your dad using newspaper for? I don't understand.
I know. I thought this was going to be when you said that just moments ago. I'm like, is this like a dirty joke? Like,
oh yeah. See,
I was like, what's he using newspapers for?
That was a tough one. I was trying to get as many jokes in there as I could, and this just due to the nature of that, there was so little I could do other than the idea of the actual video being a 1950s cutesy kind of video. That was about the only part that could really be kind of goofy about it because we were just making fun of that style of video, I guess, or that whatever you want to call it. But anyway, thanks for doing that, by the way. I should thank you 15 years later.
I'm sure you did 15 years ago. Don't worry about it. I don't even remember.
I'm sure you weren't paid.
I certainly wasn't.
He remembers that. You hear that? He quickly remembered that.
It's actually kind of funny because you were always wanting to shoot these videos, and like I had no video like background at all, and then like eventually that's more or less doing all those is why I got interested in making videos for like YouTube at all or doing any of this crap. So it's like this thing that you're like the weird kid with the video camera that's like always trying to rope people into making videos. And then I'm the volunteer that was helping. It's like, hey, I kind of enjoy doing this. I like this.
No,
cool.
You know how happy that makes me? Because like that was a genuine passion of mine. And I'm so glad. Like at the end of the day, I just knew like my friends were into it. And then if they weren't, they wouldn't come that day or whatever. But most times you guys were down for it. And we just kind of did it. So yeah, I think that's cool. Like in some weird, like indirect way, that kind of helped influence your YouTube stuff, which makes me happy. Which then, this is not for Rabbitwood, but then that in turn influenced me to get back on YouTube when YouTube became kind of even more prominent.
Right.
Which is kind of weird, you know? Like, I started on YouTube long before anyone else I knew was on there. Like, I was posting stuff in 2007. And, which is super early for YouTube. And then, like, you started posting stuff in whatever year that was, like, freshman year of college. And then I was like, oh, he's doing stuff again. I should do it. So, like, we've kind of, you kind of more directly inspired me to get back going again. So, super cool.
Which, you know, yada, 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 we reconnoitered and then eventually, you know, made a podcast, and now Rabbitwood.
And now Rabbitwood, yeah. Let's get back to Rabbitwood. If we can do it about milk, we can do it about the outdoors. Like, easy.
Well, we can.
Like, it should be easier.
Well,
what do
you
got?
say that, but actually, I was like, it should be easier. But actually, between you and me, are we more milk guys than we are outdoors guys? No, actually, that's not fair, because you were getting really outdoorsy with, you started getting into hiking, mountain biking before that almost murdered you. Like, that was like, you were getting into some stuff there, which is, I mean, that's very Rabbitwood.
Yeah, that was some pretty crazy stuff. Well, I actually do consider myself to be outdoorsy light. I do like to hike.
Yeah.
And I do like to walk and spend time out there. I love the mountains. So I would definitely consider myself to be outdoorsy light. I'm not really into like day hikes or anything like that. I'm more, or by that I mean like full day hiking. I don't want to get up at 6 a.m. and still be hiking at 6 p.m. or go for days on end.
Oh, sure.
But no, for a half a day, handful hours, go like, you know, like 3-4 miles. Like, I love that stuff and getting out in the mountains. So I do consider myself lightly outdoorsy. But briefly, yes, I was into mountain biking too. And to be honest with you, I still consider myself into it. I still want to do it. It didn't traumatize me enough, but it did still traumatize me enough to make me not do it. You know what I mean? Like, so, but that was really fun. And I can honestly say that I did some kind of risky stuff before I ended up breaking my leg. Like, the leg break wasn't risky when that happened. That was just me just doing something kind of dumb. But I did Steph and I went out to Arkansas. And in Arkansas, there's some nice kind of smaller mountains, but mountains nonetheless. And I was going pretty quick. Like, she couldn't keep up with me, and I was going down some pretty steep slopes and stuff, doing some big turns, things that I would never do in a million years, but I fell in love with it so quickly that I couldn't get enough of it.
I like to imagine she couldn't keep up because she had that shred of life preservation still in her.
Exactly. Well, no, that was a really fun day for the both of us. But yeah, the only thing about, especially like there we were mountain biking in an area that was meant for more than just mountain biking.
Sure.
So it wasn't like built specifically for it. So what that means basically is there's going to either be on your way there, it's all uphill, or on your way back, it's going to be all uphill, just because it's not really constructed in a way for you to go like in and out both ways, right?
Yeah.
So, but that's what we did. So, luckily for us, it was going up that sucked, but then it was all down going back, and that was just so much fun. And I remember like I kind of had this like out of body moment because I'm thinking, why am I like I can't believe I'm doing this right now. And I still can't believe I did some of that stuff, but I still miss it. It was super fun, man. I got into it for about 6 months. Just 6 months, that's it. But we had some friends who were super still into it. I'm talking both have broken bones, like rite of passage sort of thing. And they loved it. They love it. They take their dog out there. Their dog runs with them while they do it. And part of it that I found really fun, and I never would have thought of it in this angle until I did it, but now I have this kind of unique perspective, which is part of the fun of it for me was approaching a situation like a physical situation where I have to go, and how am I gonna pursue this? Do I need to go kind of full speed to get over this? Do I need to kind of maneuver my wheel in a certain way? It was kind of like puzzle solving. And now for some people, it's very fast puzzle solving, right? Go, you know, just hope for the best. a lot of the extreme stuff. I did it very casually, and it was much more, I'm going to slow down, see what I want to do. Okay, I'm going to go this way, and then give it a shot. Worst case, if I fall, I get scuffed up, and I'll be fine. Because I was doing like beginner / a little intermediate courses or kind of trails and stuff. But that alone, the element of you feel like you're the first person here and you're really figuring out the best way to navigate this. And there's something about that. It kind of fits into that. I feel like the Rabbitwood feel, like I'm a man, I'm going to do this. I'm treading uncharted territory. That's kind of what it feels like in those moments. So I thought I'd share that. It's an interesting perspective, but I like the puzzle part of mountain biking.
And you say that you took it more slowly, but like I feel like the more you do it and the more familiar with that hobby you become, the faster you can make those decisions and the faster you can solve those puzzles. That's why you see people that, do it so quickly. But it's funny that you mentioned that because, or rather, I should say, like back to the hiking thing a little bit. It's funny that you should mention that you don't like the full day hikes. There is that strange masculine urge in me to like just wander out into nature with a full backpack and go on like the Appalachian Trail, right? Just straight a week straight, just walk the mountains for a week.
I get it though. Yeah, because like that does. There's something about like I feel like if I did that or you did it or we all did it together or whatever, like I feel like I would gain something from that. Like, I definitely don't feel like it would be a waste of time. I feel like it would be really great to connect with nature in such a great degree like that and just really put yourself out there. So I do love the idea of it. It's just more than one day. It kind of freaks you out because you got to have enough food and all that stuff. But that's being a man,
Right.
So
being a man, knowing how to provide for myself, survive on nothing but the elements.
And then if you have to eat somebody, you will. Like, whatever. You got to
lots of somebodies.
Lots of somebody won't stop me. That's the theme song to Rabbitwood. It's just Louis Armstrong singing All-Star by Smash Mouth.
That's
somebody won't.
I'm imagining, that's what you hear on the Appalachian Trail right before, like, you die, right? Like, there's this wandering...
Oh, God.
Trail, like this wandering hiker that eats people. He's a cannibal, and he sings that song as he walks the trail. If you hear it, you have to run.
It's the ghost of Louis.
Somebody once told me the world is gonna roll me, eat you.
No, but about hiking, I would like to know your hiking experiences, even if it's just trails or whatever. I would like to hear about that because I have plenty of those stories to tell. And I'll be the first to admit that I only really got into hiking since I met Steph, so it's only been a handful of years, but it's a new love I found, and it really makes me want to be outside. Like, nothing's really made me want to be outside that much since I got to a certain age, because most things I love are usually predominantly inside things. And that is a great pull for me to go outside, and it's not even, it's not forcing me. Like, I feel like I really want to go and do it. So I'm just curious if that's kind of ever made you feel that way too, and like your experience with trails or hikes or whatever.
I grew up, like our family would take trips and we'd go camping and we'd walk trails. Like that was like what you did. You were out surrounded by nature and you'd like cook breakfast or whatever and go hit a trail. Like walking trails is what we did. And like as a kid, some of the longer trails you get tired and kids are kids, but like I feel like that instilled in me this weird, like, sense that when you're in nature, you walk. Like, that, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like, if I'm out in nature, I gotta go walk around a lake, or I gotta go walk through a tree. Like, you go out camping, you go out into nature, and you walk. And there's, like, this weird sense for me, where growing up that was normal. And, like, I'm not, like, a big canoeer. I don't go hit the lake. I'm not a big, like, I don't do mountain biking or whatever, but I feel like if I wanted to, like tomorrow, I could put together a backpack of food supplies and literally just walk. Like, I feel like the Forrest Gump, where like Forrest Gump like just runs and he just runs across the freaking country on a whim just because he wanted to get away from everything. I feel like I could do the same thing with a hike. I just feel like I could. I don't know if I could or not, but I feel like I could.
Well, right here in Rabbitwood, why don't you? Why don't you give it a shot? Like, you know, like maybe constrain that a little bit, like reel back in a little, but say like, I'm going to go do this for like 2 days and like find a good spot or whatever, which I do have a suggestion for you that's only a few hours away from you. But
I know,
you know what I mean?
I know there's spots,
I'm going to do it.
But... Well, right now it's because we're deep into December and the weather's not, the best. But
there's always excuses. There's always excuses.
Well, no, hey, okay, no, don't give me too much credit. Back in my running days, because this is probably part of why hiking doesn't seem a big deal. Back in my running days, when I was vlogging it, I was running in all the weather. It didn't matter if it was hot, cold, raining, snow. It didn't matter. I did it in all of it. And usually in the middle of the night. So, like, the weather isn't the excuse, but, like, if I'm going to go on a multi-day hike, I know I'm not going... My intention isn't to go out and, like, get sick. My intention is to go on an enjoyable hike, I'm not trying to actually test the limits of my physicality. Although if I wanted to do that, screw it. We'll do it, but
right. Well, let's talk about this then. What do you think that draw is? Is it just years and years and years, lifetimes and lifetimes of being connected to the earth, ancestors and whatnot, more so than we are now? Like, is it just inherent? Is it in us? What do you think that draw is? Like, why is it that you just feel like you want to do it?
I don't know if it's the ancestors. Like, I don't feel like when I'm out in nature or whatever, like I'm connecting with an ancient people or anything like that. I just feel like you get disconnected from all the other silliness of life. And, you get away from, if you're like camping or whatever, you get away from social media and you get away from the internet and you get away from just all of that crap and work and all of it. You just disconnect from what your everyday life is and reconnect with the only thing you can. Nature, everything around you, for sure. Like, the trees and the clouds and the earth and all that, for sure. But even to not get hippy-dippy like that, but you kind of reconnect with yourself. Instead of focusing so externally on all this stimulus, all your work, all your internet, all your whatever that you should be or could be doing, you have to focus on yourself, your own thoughts, your own existence, and not just your own thoughts about XYZ subject. Just literally, I am in my being, I am in my body, I am existing as I am, and all that there is to do in this moment is eat, sleep, and walk. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's why I enjoyed running as much as I did while I was like in that routine for running, where it's like I could go outside, forget everything in my life, forget work, forget whatever's going on, right? Forget it all. It's just me outside, run.
Right. And you're yeah, I mean, I know exactly what you mean. Plus, I feel like too, being outside is, I mean, just based on the history of mankind, like outside and nature is such a complementary part to humans and vice versa. Like, you really can't have one without the other, sort of thing, and it's just, I feel like there's something really just deep with that too. I think that's why, like, there's people out there who like to, Steph's one of them. She actually does this. Like, walking, there's something about walking barefoot, like outside, on the ground. That's a thing that people talk about a lot. Like, it just, something, it's almost like you can't even put your finger on it. There's just this inherent, strong, and natural connection between humans and the place where humans were made, Like, it's just an interesting connection and complement to one another, and so many great inventions have been made, or I said that fast, great inventions have been made that have really pulled us away from these things. And I think now it just feels like such a treat and something that we need, just due to being, I would be as drastic and say, kind of deprived of it. Whether it's our own doing or somebody else's, that's a different debate to have, but of just that strong connection. Because even just technology in the last 20, 30 years has pulled us even farther away. And we've been, you know what I'm saying? I just feel like there's something about it. I can't put my finger on what, but there's a reason why you take off your shoes and you feel something. I don't feel something when I take off my shoes and stand on my iPad. You know? Like, I don't feel anything there other than it breaking underneath me.
I say, how often do you do that, though?
What I do on my iPad is I screenshot a picture of grass, put it as my homepage, then I just stand on it to see if it feels the same.
There is the barefoot thing is actually, it's funny that you should say that because this is semi-recent. I mean, I've been doing it for months now, but like, I have gotten into the habit, not every time, I have gotten into the habit lately that if I'm going on a long drive, especially after work or something like that, I'm coming home, where I don't wear shoes in the car. I don't do it. I drive barefoot.
Oh.
Which I know isn't like super naturey. I'm not walking around in the dirt barefoot. Don't get me wrong. But there's something about recently where it's like that weird connection with reality and everything around you where I'm going like, I feel like I'm captive. Like I'm stuck. Like I'm trapped. But I kick my shoes off, and I know I'm just in my car. But the car is weird too because symbolically speaking, especially in America, there's something about Americana and cars. But like the car represents freedom in so many ways, right? Travel where you want to go, anytime you want to go. There's something about cars in America that represents freedom, and there's something about, again, removing your shoes and being free in nature. There's like this weird connection there. And it's just funny that you mentioned barefoot because it's like recently I've been going barefoot in the car because that's like a weird freeing feeling.
And by I understand that. And by a much farther extension, but same spirit is like nudists. It's got to come from the same place, right? Or at least a similar place.
Yeah.
Because from what I know about it, I mean, I don't partake necessarily, but I say necessarily like I've dabbled in it or something. But nothing against those who are into it. But I guess I feel like the vibe there is always like, this is who I am. It's natural. I don't want to be constrained by, clothes and these things that are like manufactured or whatever. I just want to be me and myself. And I'm assuming when I think of nudists, I usually think of like beaches or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're kind of out there in a very natural part of the earth and, just all that water and all that stuff. So it just kind of, I feel like that kind of comes from a similar place maybe. So you heard it here, folks. Maybe Weston's on his way to becoming a nudist. We'll find out. He'll start getting in his car fully naked.
I'm well on my way. It's only a matter of time, honestly, really.
Could you imagine? I love that slow process of like, get off work. It's like, you know what? I'm gonna take off my shirt this time too. and just eventually you're just like, okay, well, I'm already got my shirt off and I have no shoes. Why not the pants? And you just slowly start, pretty soon you're just completely naked.
I think we do start to delve into public indecency once we start getting beyond the pants and underwear situation. Like as a male, that
doesn't change the spirit.
As a privileged man of society, I could go shirtless without too much eyebrow raising. But once the pants start going, I think we start getting into trouble.
But I just love that idea. It's like, well, I mean, we're already there.
We're already there. I mean, that is like a thing, though. I've never, I'm trying to train my thoughts here. Funny that you mentioned nudists, because I think one of my earliest experiences with like nudist as a concept, as a kid, I don't remember how old I was when I got this game, like young teen or something like that. The Sims Bustin' Out game has like
amazing game. Love that game.
Has like a nudist like location or whatever where like some of the characters are like nudists and free love or whatever, because that like a lot of the theme of that game is like 70s love or whatever. But that was like a concept where there was like a nudist colony that you could go to. And of course it's a video game, everybody. It's all censored and everything. It's a thing. Right. But that was probably my first like experience with the concept of a nudist colony or nudism as a thing. And so it's funny that you mention that with all of this because at the time as a kid, you know, it's like, oh, nudist, that's like a weird, quirky, like people do that, but that's like just a weird kind of person. Almost like a different species of person. But now that you're talking about it and you're saying it, now I'm running this hypothetical in my mind. Like, what would it take, right? What would it take for Weston to become a nudist? And is there a reality where that would be possible? And it doesn't actually seem as weird as an adult me as it would have seemed to teen me.
Right. And that actually makes a lot of sense for many reasons. Just you have a different perspective now, you know, as someone who's, you know, as an adult and at this point in your life. And that gets me thinking about it for me too. Because if you want to ask me, it's the same kind of thing, right? Like you immediately, especially when you're young, or like you said, like early teens or late preteen, whatever age you were, you're really starting to be, you know, that's when you're puberty, you're kind of going through puberty and all that stuff, and you're really thinking about your body and I think at that age especially, you associate nudity probably the most at that time, like with shame or with
embarrassment,
you know, like or at least public or embarrassment, that sort of thing. So, but from the perspective of how I think a lot of people do it at these beaches, I'm assuming it's much more just kind of like you said, the free love thing, or I've always seen it more personally just kind of as just natural. This is, we come out of the womb naked. Why do we have to wear clothes, right? That sort of thing. And that idea, even though it is, I think by just standard, like by normal kind of societal standards, it's still considered fairly extreme. That's why it's not everywhere.
Well,
and
there is actually a lot of good things that come with wearing clothes. So that's why it seems so extreme.
Yeah,
straight nudist, but...
Right. But like, and that's obviously clearly why, like, you know, and just due to just the norms of our society, you know, you can't be a nudist anywhere, right?
Right.
But like, yeah, this day and age, it's like, is it really that weird? You know, like maybe I wouldn't do it, but like, is it really that weird? You know, that sort of thing. It's your perspective changes when you think about potentially even the benefits you might feel if you completely give yourself into it.
And
right, like, because it's not inherently. Sorry, I'm almost one final thought. Like, it's
you're fine.
I think I went through a phase too where I thought, well, clearly all they're doing. I've never been to a nudist beach, but I'm in my head when I got to that age where I would think about adult things. I think clearly all they're doing is having sex. Like it's all just sexual. That's all it is.
Right.
But that's not what it all is. Maybe there is sexual elements to it, but like that's not what it's about. So, and that's what makes you think, is it really that odd?
Well, yeah, because you get this association, I think, with being a normally clothed society, that nudity is directly correlated to, like, sex, because the only time you're ever going to be naked is, besides showering or something, is in a sort of sexual act. But, like, the whole nudist concept of just being, like, closer to nature or challenging, I don't know, societal standards makes it so that you actually don't connect being naked with sexual activity, which in itself, if you break it down that granular, right, where being naked isn't a sexual activity, then you can actually reclaim your own body. It's like, I don't get naked for sex. Like this is my body. That's body wild, isn't the clothes I'm wearing. My body is my body. It's me. There's nothing else attached to that if you break it down like that.
God, reclaim your body. I mean, it makes total sense. That sounds like a wild, radical thought to me, but it makes sense. Like it is kind of reclaiming your body,
right? And again, going back to that whole like idea, that concept of shame, like as a teenager, you're going like through puberty, your body's doing a bunch of changes. Maybe you're a little embarrassed about that. Completely normal to have those feelings because your body is doing radically different things at that time. When you're young, when you're not an adult, your body is constantly doing radical things, and it's confusing. I get it.
Yeah.
When you're an adult, your body's done doing the craziest things, so you can actually have the freedom to say, "Yep, this is me. This is what I look like. I'm not ashamed. This is me." You know what I mean?
But man, I tell you what, That's going to be a hard one for me to get over, though. Just being completely okay with like, all right, this is me. I'm naked. Here I am.
But it's also like, so have you had this experience? Because this goes back to camping, right? Like, have you ever gone to a campground shower house and the adults there are totally okay being naked because, like, you know, it's just a bunch of dudes trying to shower out in the woods, right? Or even actually if you've been to a pool,
right? Yeah,
the old dudes at the pool that are like naked.
That's what I think of as the pool or the gym, yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah, they have no gym. Shame. I remember being like, you're like a 7-year-old boy, and you're going in there,
right?
Going, oh my god! And like it's almost mortifying because they're just out there. They don't care. It's like a 70-year-old dude. Like he's got nothing to lose.
They don't care. When you're like 7 or you're like 10 or something, you're like, how can these old guys, which, you know, when you're 7, like our age now is old. So like you have this concept, like, why do these old people, why are they just so comfortable being naked? It's like, because they've lived in their body for decades. They know what it's about. They know what they're about.
Right. And that might come as...
And it's not sexual. You're just taking a shower in the woods.
Right. Oh my gosh. I wonder if that is partially an extension also. We talked about this maybe on your 30th birthday episode where we were talking about how the older you get, the less you care. And it's like a process, you know,
yeah.
like, and you know, and we're 30 now and like maybe when we're 40, we're going to care even less, or meaning care about what other people think about certain things, right? It'll just continue.
What you
so I
care
wonder
about
if that's
changes.
a part of it too.
Yeah.
Correct. And so who knows, like maybe when we're 70, like it'll be the same thing. Like, I don't care if you see it.
Well,
like,
and it makes sense,
you know?
to, especially 70. Once you get to 70, 80, 90, the more decrepit you get, if you end up having, like, people have to take care of you, like if you start losing functionality, you just have to be comfortable with, like, yeah, someone else has to wipe my butt because I'm no longer capable. Which is its own kind of embarrassing, but what are you going to do?
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
That's weird too, because I'm just now thinking about this, right? So I won't go into details, but like when this kind of circles back, but also doesn't, to Rabbitwood and mountain biking and stuff. So when I got hurt, my injury was so bad. You know this, but I'm sharing this to those who might have missed when I talked about it.
Right.
I broke my right wrist and my left leg. So basically what that means is I can't do anything by myself because I have 2 casts on. I can't even like set myself up properly. And so for the first few weeks, it was so bad that Steph was basically doing everything for me, including, you know, like getting me in the shower. I had to put on shower casts. She had to stand in there with me. Long story short, Steph's my significant other. We've seen each other naked plenty of times, right? That's not a secret.
Okay, keep bragging.
You know, I can't even count how many times we've seen each other naked. Let me tell you. No, but here's what I was going to say. I've never felt so vulnerable.
Yep.
In those moments. And it's not because, but I don't know what it was. Maybe it's because we weren't seeing each other naked in the way that we usually would, right? But it was, but there's something about that. I felt so emasculated and like I didn't, like, and I remember she was like, you act like I haven't seen you naked before. Like I was trying to cover myself up in any way that I could. Like I really just felt so embarrassed.
Right.
And I don't know why I even brought that up, I guess, but it was just an interesting thing that I just thought about. Cause actually,
bringing that back, you said emasculated, and that's a perfect word, because the difference is you're not an 80-year-old, like, losing functionality individual. You are, like a young, strong man that otherwise suffered an injury, preventing you from being able to be a provider, preventing you from being capable, things that you were accustomed to being capable of doing, you no longer could. And so that, you know, talking about the manly urge to be outside and do things and split wood and start fires, you were casted up and couldn't even shower by yourself. You went from being able to do everything by yourself to nothing by yourself. And like, as a man, that's just rough. That's rough. That's hard.
Yeah. It was hard.
It's again,
Man.
it wasn't that you were ashamed of your body. You were ashamed of like your complete incapability to provide for yourself.
Right.
At least
Yeah,
that's not
you
to
worded
put
it
words
well.
in your
That was a tough
mouth,
one.
but yeah.
No,
Yeah.
you worded it well. It's true. That's exactly what it felt like. And that all happened because Rabbitwood, because I was out there in the elements. And sometimes that's a rite of passage in some of those dangerous things that you do.
But yeah, that's
especially if you're going to pursue it as a big hobby.
right. That's something that I think because you said that you're still actually interested in the mountain biking thing. You were at a point in time where you had never felt more emasculated, right? Like that was a pretty bad low for you. You had to go through a lot, like just emotionally, to get through that injury. But at the end of the day, now that you're through that injury, now that you're on the other side, you know, you can look back away from that situation and say, that was an injury that I sustained while trying to do something that I was passionate about. Do I actually regret following that passion? Because I can ask you right now, do you actually regret following mountain biking?
No, I don't regret it.
Of course you don't regret it because you're still interested in it now. You know,
Right.
You had that temptation. You're like, I know I was terribly injured and it put me through hell while I was hurt.
Right.
But actually, it was a lot of fun and I kind of want to do it again.
And I think that's something worth celebrating too. Like talk about the opposite of feeling emasculated, like finding something that you're passionate about, something in my head for some reason this matters too. Something that's like a physical thing that you can do that you're passionate about, you know, and maybe you've had some hiccups like I did with that, but getting over that hump and like overcoming that in its own way sounds, what's the word? Triumphant or something. Like it you know what I mean? Like
Right.
it's something worth celebrating. I don't know. I mean, there's other things you can do outdoors besides that can do a similar thing. So,
because I think to a much lesser extent, because I was not nearly as like destroyed as you were after your mountain biking incident, but like the last major injury that I can think of myself having was when I ripped my left hand open. By the way, everybody, I'm left-handed, so that was fun. Ripped my left hand open doing squats in the weight room, right? Which is always a fun story. It's like, how did you hurt your hand doing squats? Oh, by golly, did I? And I had to get stitches, and I was all kinds of messed up for weeks in my hand. And that I'm left-handed, so like that's the last major injury I can think of. And it's like, well, like coming out from that, I learned that, okay, well, clearly I cut very easily. This is not something that like I was told by a doctor or anything, but apparently I cut very and which once I started working with knives in my day job, I found out real quickly I cut very easily and I bleed very freely. So what I learned back then when I hurt myself, that when I came out of that and my hand healed up and my massive cut in my hand was healed up, that, okay, well, there are two things. There are two options. I could like give up ever trying to do weight room lifting, all that. I could give all that up and try to protect myself and, you know, coddle myself and keep myself away from danger. Or I bought gloves. I wore weightlifting gloves and I kept doing the same thing that hurt myself, but now I've got protection on my hands because apparently they cut very easily. So like that's that difference where it's like you have this injury and it sucks. But then you learn from that. It's like, okay, well, what can I do to get back in the game? Like, I'm not going to give up. It's about not giving up. It's not, you know, don't keep doing the stupid thing. Like if you did something stupid, learn from that and don't do the stupid thing anymore. But that doesn't mean you just have to like be scared, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think life's too short to be scared of it. Now, there's other moments, too, with other people maybe where it's like, you know what, I tried it, not for me, and that's fine. And who knows, I may never do it again. I'm not, like, itching, but, like, it's definitely not something I've forgotten about, so I guess we'll see. You said you were doing that with you, though. You said you were deadlifting?
No, I was squatting. I was doing squats.
You're squatting, sorry.
I did enjoy deadlift. Deadlift was my best activity. I could deadlift at a much higher weight class than I was actually in.
That's cool.
I don't know why. Deadlifting was just my thing.
I hated how much they, because we obviously used the same gym. I hated what they did. They hurt my shoulder so bad. Like, not the weight, but like just the actual, like, the resting piece that like sits on the back of your neck or wherever it was. I remember that hurt so bad. I don't know. Maybe that was just me. Maybe I was doing it wrong. I very well could have been.
Well, there is something to. Maybe that it's possible if your form was bad, but there is something about like you literally do have a bar back, kind of like underneath and behind your neck, and you're holding it by your arms or what. There is a physicality there that if you don't have that part of your like back like built up, that like it would be uncomfortable. So I could totally see that. I don't remember it ever hurting my neck, but like you knew when you had your bar back there, you knew. So I could see that being uncomfortable.
Right. I hated though, and I was the worst at power cleans.
I hated power cleans.
Haven't done them since then. Never will do them again. Ugh.
They hurt my wrists.
Power cleans are such a bodybuilder thing. Like I'm like, why am I doing this? That's why I felt at the time. Like I no. Just give me the bench, give me the leg press, I don't need to do these power cleans. I felt that way. I hated it so much.
They always felt so sketchy because they involved that like really sudden jerky movement to get the like bar from low of your body to like over your body, basically. It felt so jerky that just felt wildly unsafe. I prefer the slow, sustained movement. Like if you're doing a squat, you're slowly squatting. If I'm doing a deadlift, I'm slowly lifting. If you're doing bench press, you're slowly lowering and raising. The power cleans felt like the worst idea I had ever tried to achieve in the weight room. I was like, I'm not about this. I don't like it.
I wonder what it would feel like to be out in the wild or just out in nature. It doesn't have to be out in the wilderness, in the middle of nowhere, but out in nature and like working out, Like, I mean, I guess you could argue, not even argue, it's just kind of a fact. Like if you're working out in the elements, that is kind of, you are working out parts of your body.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I've always loved in general, like working with my stepdad. It's not really in nature, but it's outside and it's out in the country, like out on the farm and like out near the trees. Like that stuff always feels good because something about the manual labor honestly does sometimes just feel really good to do.
Especially when you're actually achieving something, like you're doing it for a reason.
Yeah. There's just, and for some reason, the outdoor element of it just really helps too. I know from my experience. But yeah, you're right though. The achievement is huge. Feeling like you can look back and see that you accomplished something. Like, I mean, I'm assuming that's why like our dads and probably even more so our dads' dads and so on. There was always something to work on.
Yeah.
There's always something to fix, to accomplish, to get done. I'm sure like deep down that's a huge element of that is the whole wanting to feel like you got something done. It's something physical and tangible that you can see that you put together or that you changed or you got rid of or fixed or whatever it may be. Because there's a part of that in me too. No, I'm not nearly as handy as my dad or my dad's dad, for example, but any small thing I do that is sort of handy or involves putting something together, especially putting together, right? Like building something.
Yeah.
That is always, talk about something that makes you feel, sorry, but this makes you feel like a man,
right.
Like it. Stuff like that definitely feeds that. And I have that to small degrees with various things I've done. Small degrees, I'll say, but it always feels good.
Like because I'm there with you. Like I'm not particularly handy. I feel like with a manual I can do pretty much anything. But that's just sure. I like to have a manual there. So I know what I'm supposed to be doing. But like there is something about if you have something to accomplish. Like again, going back to like the chopping wood thing, right? Like if you're chopping wood, that's an exercise that feels a lot more meaningful than me like just curling curling weights or whatever. So it feels like you accomplish something. So it's that manly urge to like build things, maintain things, construct things, like just to freaking do something. I don't know.
Well, and we've done it since we've existed. We've always wanted to do things. It's human nature.
Well, of course,
do things, to build things, to make things.
Originally out of like necessity. Like if you didn't do those things, you didn't.
Yeah.
Like if you didn't build your shelter, like thousands of years ago, if you didn't build your shelter, then you would die to the elements or the predators or whatever.
Right, but even to that point, and because of that, maybe even it's been instilled in us from generation to generation, past that, to just do it. And I just think that's really cool, whether the motive has changed or not. And I don't know. There's some things that we can kind of put our finger on, but it's also just kind of like an unspoken understanding. Like this is just something that we're drawn towards. And just one of those things in life that just kind of you think about and make you go, And
then you have that, it almost feels like the complete like opposite of like the manly urge where it's like, okay, it makes you think. Now I'm imagining, okay, we're all going to pull like a Whitman or a Thoreau and just wander naked out into the woods and write poetry.
No, that I see you doing. Like, and I don't know. I feel like it's kind of like our joke that I said to you once where it's like, did I ever say this on the podcast? You know where I'm about to go with this. Maybe you don't, but like the naked thing.
What about it?
We've talked about that on the podcast.
I don't remember.
Well, yeah, I'm about to say it.
We've done 60-odd episodes. I don't remember.
I know. So if you guys haven't heard this, here we go. I once Weston and I were brainstorming funny podcast ideas. And one time I said, you and I, we shouldn't tell anybody.
Oh, I know what you're talking
Let's
about.
both do the podcast naked. And like, but like, it just sounds so weird because I'm like, you and I would be away, like we'll be in our own homes naked, but we're not going to tell anybody. What are we getting out of this besides that weird little bit of energy from the both of us knowing that the other guy's naked? And what's that mean? What kind of energy is it? I don't know. What I'm trying to say is that I see you like going out into the wilderness naked, writing poetry, and then you put out some of your best work, and you always keep it a secret that you're naked. But like when you're praised for your work, you're like, my thing was out when I wrote that, and you had no idea.
I did that naked, in full view with everything.
Nude. That's right. You know, it's like I was scratching my boys when I wrote that stanza, and you had no idea.
I mean,
You're welcome for that.
I would hope that most, if you're reading a work that I have written, I hope you're not reading my stuff thinking, I wonder what he was scratching when he wrote this line. Like,
wonder what he was scratching. Who knows?
My beard is a fairly safe bet, but it could have been other things.
Well, supposedly, so do you remember the song Clocks? The Coldplay, the da 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 da. That song, apparently that was one of his like this wake up in the middle of the night epiphany songs just kind of came to him. And in this interview he said that, you know, he sleeps nude. And he had this idea and he wanted to get it to paper, get it to me, or you know, get it out to make sure he wouldn't forget it. So he just ran down to his piano and he was still naked, 2 a.m. And so he did. So Coldplay is one of their biggest hits of like the 2000s period. The guy wrote naked.
You know?
The more you know, right?
I don't know if that should change how I feel about the song or not. You know, it's weird. Because we talked about, like, speaking of nudists and nudity, it's like, does that make it feel more real and more raw because he was naked as opposed to, like, clothed in a production, like, booth or whatever, like, directors everywhere trying to create this perfectly orchestrated commercial success? But no, he was naked at home in his element, writing a goddamn masterpiece.
I mean, there's something to say about it. I will say that. There is something to say about that. Who knows? Maybe all of us at the time, because that song was such a huge hit when it came out. So I wonder if, like, at the time that resonated with us as humans and we didn't know why, but that's why. There was that human element that we felt extra connected to him and we could feel that come through the music, and it was because he was naked. We never knew it till now.
No. It could have been. It could have been because he's naked. I'll tell you what. I didn't fully expect that when we sat down to do an episode of Rabbitwood that we would be so keenly talking about being naked. but I'm happy.
We did that a lot, actually.
I'm glad this was the nudist episode of Rabbitwood.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
I think
I'm happy about it. I got nothing else to say about it, though.
I got nothing else to say. All I'm going to say is that if you want to follow more Rabbitwood shenanigans, I'm sorry, because you're going to have to listen to Profoundish. You can listen to Profoundish at Profoundish Pod on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. Listen to us on Spotify, Apple, Google, YouTube, all the places. Alex, where can we find you?
You can find me at alexduquette.net. That's pretty much a way you can see everything that I do. So whether it's my original music, I write songs, you can go listen to those. Talk about capturing the human moments, the human experience, the condition. My music does it. Listen to it. The really minor moments that mean nothing, I write about a lot of the time. So go but they end up meaning something. You know what I mean? So go listen to it. I had to say that last part because I thought, well, if I say nothing, that's going to not sell my music very well.
Listen, guys, Alex wrote all his music naked. So, I mean, if you need to know what we're talking about, you got to go listen.
Go listen to songs from Sangamon Street. I wrote every song on it naked. So go listen to that. And then other than that, I do, I'm going to keep shouting this out if you're new to the show here. I started a new venture doing retrospectives and deep dives and light reviewing, but mainly the deep dive aspect on video game soundtracks. So go check that out if you're into video game music or just video games, and you maybe have you'll get a new sense of perspective on some of your favorite games. I've gotten some of those comments like, I never really thought about the music like that, but that's really cool, you know. So if you ever want to celebrate your favorite games in a new way, go check out my channel. Weston, what about you?
I've been Weston. I've got a website, westonhasty.com, has all of my things that you can follow there. I play video games on Magic Mad Mo on YouTube. I write poetry on hastilymadedecision.com. I tweet at Weston Hasty if you want to tweet me and say hi. Do I do other things? Is that what I do? That's all. That's everything I do, right? I probably do other things. Check out my website. It's all there.
Yeah.
And again, you've been listening to Rabbitwood. You've been listening to Rabbitwood /Profoundish. Whatever you're doing right now, if it's the last thing you do before you leave, hit that like button, follow button, subscribe button, 5-star button. There's a button. Push all the goddamn buttons you can before you go, because algorithm loves it. Doesn't matter what platform you're on, algorithm loves it. Thank you all so much for listening. Next week, we've got the Christmas episode. Thank you for listening. Until then, all right.